Can you upgrade the Grand Archive deck with nothing but bulk? That is the question we tend to explore in this series. And today we are on the third set released in the history of this game, Alchemical Revolution. Again, a disclaimer as usual, this is not a series that is intended for everyone. It's mostly intended for people who are not able to access cards, maybe whether it's due to shipping, what have you. Maybe they only have sealed product available to them, or maybe they just want to kind of dip their toes into the game. They don't really want to invest so much. They want to get maybe like a starter deck, a recollection deck, and just upgrade it slightly without investing too much. So this series is for you, and I hope it will be your next step on your Grand Archive journey. So this time, unlike the previous boxes, ALC is a bit of an outlier because it's a main set, so it has a lot of cards. It has a big card pool, but the power creep, or let's say the quality of cards, hasn't really stood the test of time so much. So a lot of cards are cheap in this set, but not a lot of them are very usable. So instead of having a top 10 list for Regalia and a top 10 list for main deck cards this time, we're going to be combining them both together because, as I said, the pool is a bit limited this time. So starting off with Crystalline Archer, this is a card that I wasn't really played for the longest time, but with the advent of Water Diana, Water Aetherwing Diana, so let's say you buy the starter deck, you can pick up 4 copies of this card and it will give a massive boost to your deck. It's a really solid card. On attack, it banishes a floating memory card from grave and lets you draw a card and become distant. And given that it's a range 3, it starts hitting for 4 every turn. As long as you have a floating memory and grave to draw, it hits for 4 and gives you draws every turn. It's a really big threat. And given how aggressive the Water Aetherwing Diana deck is, this is a really solid component of that strategy. If you're playing mostly the level 1 strategy, without going to Astra, obviously, you're just sticking to water. On that note, we have Tactical Retreat, another solid piece of the Aetherwing Diana strategy. It is a kind of combat protection card that ends the combat. It's a bit like Song of Frost in that sense, but it also makes you distant and it has float. Obviously, for a 3 cost, a bit higher than Song of Frost, but thematically, it fits the Ranger identity more. So this is a very good card to have, whether they're playing the Water Aetherwing Diana at level 1 or the Astra version. It's a really solid card. It's a very protective, defensive card. Next we have Vanished from Sight. So this isn't a card that's been really played a lot. It's played mostly in level 3 decks that are really slow at the beginning of the game, just want to protect themselves. So stuff like Luxem Xander, stuff maybe like Rai perhaps. And it gives you champion stealth if you activate during your opponent's recollection phase, which effectively makes you protected if you're playing against an allies deck. So if you're playing something like Rai perhaps, or Luxem Xander, this is not a bad card to consider. With Fertile Grounds, we have a specific card, so it's a niche card again. This is a Arisana card. So if you're playing Wind Arisana, this is a brilliant card. It's a Fantasia that every recollection phase, every one of your recollection phases, lets you summon a token copy of a herb you control. So let's say you have any of the herbs, you can make an additional copy of it in your recollection. So the value gain over time with this card is fantastic, especially because Arisana games tend to go long. So this card gives you exceptional value over time, and if they hit it in the early game, it hurts a lot. And given that's the case, you're gonna notice how much you really depend on this card in Arisana, especially again if you're playing the Wind version. Crystalline Mirror is a very solid card. It is a Regalia 0 cost, and it's mostly played in Cleric Fractal decks, so either Arisana Water Fractal decks or Diachan Water Fractal decks. And if I'm not mistaken, it's even on the watch list of the ban list, because Grand Archive devs don't really like to have removal like this in the material deck. They prefer it to be consolidated in main deck cards. So this is really good though. I mean, if you can set this up early on, you can glimpse every time you play a Fantasia, and then whenever you would like, you can just banish it, destroy an item with memory cost 0 or reserve cost 3 or less. Of course, you can only activate this if you have 3 or more Fantasias, but it's very easy to do in that deck. So yeah, it's a really solid toolbox tool to have with you, and there's a reason it's on the watch list. Next up, we have Sea Sprite Diver. So this card has been getting a lot of more value now that water is back on the map. If your opponent has a lot of cards in grave, obviously with this condition, if you have 4 or more cards in grave, you can play this card for 1 less. And it's a 2/3 that banish the card in grave on played. Even if you have to pay the full cost, the 4 cost, it's not always super bad because you can banish like a liminal card, you can banish a float in the early game. It can really hinder an opponent and force them to banish cards from their memory to level up, for example, or summon to play Regalias. On that note, I really like this card. I've been testing it in Nico and it's really solid. So I would say if you're playing a water deck, it's not a bad ally, it's not a bad effect. Give it a shot. Next up, we have what is possibly one of the best common cards in this entire set, easily top 3. We have Escape the Wreckage. Escape the Wreckage is a very well-designed card that lets you recycle resources. So let's say you're on a dungeon guide, you have a dungeon guide on field, you use it to go to level 2, perhaps maybe you're a bit behind. You would play Escape the Wreckage, put it back in memory to be reused next turn. So in that sense, it's really cool. I mean, you can play it on lots of things. You can play it on 3 of Hearts in Lorraine. You can play it on any card that gives you value, or a card that you had to use once and you're no longer getting any value out of. This lets you bring it back, either in response to an attack that's threatening that ally, or to just recur a resource. So in that sense, it's really useful. So with Shimmercloak Assassin, we have an all-star of the Wind ally decks. Because it's a 2/2 stealth unit that is really hard to kill, and obviously if you're playing things like Backup Charger that generate power cells, you can boost this. Or if you're playing maybe like an Automaton ally deck, it really comes together with this card. It's really sticky, it's really hard to kill, and it keeps pinging for 2 damage every turn. And if you're ever considering playing a Wind Allies deck, you cannot go wrong with this card. So you're gonna see this card and tell me like, what's the point of this card? I mean, it's cool, but it's a bit of a gimmicky card, and it's not. There's no way this is gonna survive. On that note, I want to turn your attention to Pantheon, our newest format, which is essentially our commander format. Freydis, if she's able to survive, especially in the early game, and you're playing a Ranger deck, it is an insane powerhouse. It makes Ranger units you control become distant permanently for the rest of the game, even if she's gone. As long as you're able to keep her alive, she will fulfill this condition for you, and it will reward you in the long run. And you are likely to win that game. If you're playing a Pantheon game as a Ranger, I'm telling you, if this card hits the field, you're going to become public enemy number 1. So yeah, try to protect this if you can. If it does, the payoff is insane. The payoff is amazing. And finally on this list, we have an altar card. What is an altar card? Basically, Grand Archive, the way they push out sets is they produce a set, and it is the first edition set. It's the first print run of that set. But when a set is out of print, or they want to print it in the future, what they do is they do an altar run, which is basically an unlimited print run, like a second, third, fourth, whatever you want to call it. Every single print run that follows the first will be an altar run, basically. And in those new versions of the product, almost everything is the same. It's just the packaging changes a bit, and we have some new cards added to the card pool. And those cards are usually called altar cards. So in this case, it's an ALC altar uncommon card. This one is focusing around. It's a really solid card in Diana decks, the gun Diana decks basically. And basically you loop this card. It has an on-enter draw effect. So if in win decks, you have a lot of ways to suppress things, blink things, banish them, bring them back. So every time that would happen, you will draw a card basically. So it gives you a really solid draw generation engine. So much so that people have come to call it a cake bullet. What do I mean by that? If you know Forest Cake, it's a tamer card that's 2 cost on enter draw card, and then you can banish to give a beast or animal ally that's entering the field a buff counter. But it's that on enter draw effect that's really solid, and this is even being played in Umbra Alice because they play all sorts of cards that have on enter effects, and they're like permanents, they're like objects, on enter draw card and sticks on the field, and they have ways to keep suppressing them basically, generating draws and draws and draws. Forest Cake, Focusing Ground, Mnemonic Charm, for example, these kind of cards. So, I mean, yeah, you can't really go wrong with this card if you're playing Gun Diana, and even you can test it in the Umbra Alice if that's the direction you want to take. So yeah, that's it for ALC. As I said, it's a bit of an iffy set. There isn't a lot of value in it nowadays. I mean, there are some niche cards you can get from here, but when it came out, it was very important for the game, but right now it's important but kind of diminished, and there isn't a lot of value in it. But if you manage to have some available, maybe you've won them as packs on entry, in tournaments or whatever, maybe they're discounted, it's not a bad idea to pick up some of these. You can get some good cheap cards, and there are some good expensive cards, like Carter, for example, for any Umbra deck you want to play. Mostly like CL or like Gun Diana, Umbra Diana, obviously. So yeah, I hope this helped. And next time we have Mercurial Heart, the expansion set for Alchemical Revolution. Personally, one of my favorite sets of all time, if not the favorite GA set. And in Mercurial Heart, we'll see how the strategies introduced in Alchemical Revolution are built upon and expanded in that set. So yeah, if this helped out, I would really appreciate if you could like this video. It really helps with the algorithm. And if you want to see more in this series, next up, as I said, we have Mercurial Heart, so subscribe and you'll get that notification immediately. We're planning on going through all the sets released so far in the history of this game to be able to create a comprehensive guide for people who are joining this game. And these guides are $1 right now or less, and I don't expect them to ever go much higher than that. And if they do, there will be some outliers here and there. So this will serve as a kind of timeless educational piece that will help people who are joining this game. That's my intention for this series, at least. So yeah, Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.